right, so welcome to the June 4th edition of the Kiwanis Club of Easton's luncheon. Great day today. Raj, sorry, we had to suspend Raj Connor's year for today, because today is Gary Tempest Day. So even though you do have a whole year dedicated to yourself, not today. So Gary Tempest. Gary, welcome to the meeting today.
Thank you.
We always know you're there in spirit, but it's nice to have you in person as well. Also, a couple other visitors, I guess Nick would be, hard to say he's a visitor, but he has come to join us today. So Nick, great to see you.
Oh, thank you.
And
Nice to see you all.
Dean, who has a rough time getting here sometimes because of his busy schedule, nice that you joined us as well today, Dean. Thanks, good to see you. And I think that's it as far as our guests, so to speak. I'll wait to, we'll finish up on the ordering and then have the pledge of allegiance and a song. All right, shall we all rise for the pledge?
I
Pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. God bless America, land that I love, stand beside her and guide her through the night with the light from above, from the mountains to the prairies, to the oceans white with foam. God bless America, my home, sweet home. God bless America, my home, sweet home.
All right, so Dr. Ken, could you give us a little moment of inspiration?
We know that this is all about Gary today, and gratitude that we have for what he's done over the time. And it made me think about the overall sense of what is gratitude and what's its place in our lives. And is gratitude something that we roll out at Thanksgiving, or is there something more to it? Sometimes gratitude requires that we stop and we reflect on it before we really feel gratitude, like the occasion today. And studies, however, show that it can have important effects on our mental and physical health, as well as on our social bonds. So it is something more than Thanksgiving. Someone has said it's both a state and a trait. I like that. A few quotes that I also like. This is from Oprah Winfrey. Be thankful for what you have, and you'll end up having more. If you concentrate on what you don't have, you'll never have enough. I think there's a truism with that. And then pertinent to today, it says silent gratitude isn't very much use to anybody. And feeling gratitude is not expressing it, and not expressing it is like wrapping a present and not giving it. Well, we're going to not be silent today, Gary. We're going to have plenty of time to express our gratitude. And that's your thought for the day. Thank you.
And thank you so much. Very appropriate for our meeting today. Just a overview of how the meeting is going to run today. Walt is our master of ceremonies. I'm just going to say a few remarks here, then turn it over to him. And he will not just yet. Then he'll have his program, after which we'll spend a little time talking about our thoughts on Gary, our remembrances, and hopefully it'll make it a nice afternoon for him. So should be a great day. Okay, I think at this point, unless anybody has anything else they would like to add to opening remarks, I'll turn it over to our master of ceremonies, Walt.
Gary, this is in honor of you, but I'm going to give this. Chris asked me if I would make sure that this got here because it's heavy. But Chris was the one that originally came up with the idea of giving recognition to you for your 30+ years of service as our club's treasurer. So
let me first say about Gary, this is a very joyous day. Gary's being recognized. He's been a major contributor to the club. let me specify or indicate as an accountant and a colleague of Gary's contributions to the club. Service hours. 32 years times 32 hours equals 1,100 hours. 1,100. That translates to 1,100 hours divided by 160 hours per month, 40 hours per week, times 4 weeks. And that translates into 7 months of full-time contributions to our club. Glad to hear that. And foregone income shouldn't be forgotten also. 1,100 hours times the average billing rate extends itself to $135,000. So Gary is one of our major contributors. There are many, but Gary is certainly one of them. So with that being said, and the openness, you have it upside down. Whoops. Well, can you help me here, man?
I certainly can.
Gary? Yes. Appreciate Kiwanis Club of Easton. And then we go to our audience. Oh. I think this is apropos to Gary.
Turn it a little
As a
bit,
Kiwani,
turn it a little bit more so.
as a Kiwani, ideally, we want Gary's office to accommodate this as you open the door to his office and you see this right away. Now, that may be optimistic. But Gary, have it someplace that's notable.
All right.
Okay. So this is Gary's gift. Thanks, Chris.
Might be optimistic, might be unrealistic, but anyway, can I just say something about the stamp there?
Yes, you indicated that.
Not to interrupt, but I think it's a great time to do it. So, did a little research on this. The US Postal Service issued a commemorative stamp in 1987 to honor the certified public accountant profession. 1987, this 22-cent stamp, 22 cents, designated as Scott number 2361, I don't know why that is, marked the 100th anniversary of the accounting profession in the United States. Just a couple of facts about the stamp. It was issued September 21st of 87. It was announced at the ceremony location for CPAs that year, Radio City Music Hall. Stamp designer was Lou Nolan. The printing method is lithographed and engraved by the Bureau of Engraving and Printing. There were 163 million of those stamps printed. And interestingly enough, there were a couple that were incorrect, which are highly valuable today. So collectors who have the ones with the slight imperfections are getting pretty good.
Maybe this is one of them.
It could.
All right.
Anyway, one other quick thing, Owen. The stamp features a large steel point pen over an accounting ledger symbolizing the precision and professionalism of the accounting field. This design was praised by the United States Postal Service as the best postal art style stamp we have printed in years. Well, it is a very nice looking stamp. I just want to put that in there. Give this to Gary so he can, wow his clients.
Thank you.
Sure. Gary, congratulations.
All right. Thank you very much.
Want me to,
Okay. Got it?
I'll set this back
That's
here,
fine.
Gary, and,
All right.
and then I'll see it gets to your vehicle
Okay.
at the end of the meeting. I'll say that before I turn it over to others that would like to, make comments or remembrances of Gary. I first got to know Gary a little bit when I used to have to take the invoices out to his office after we did the Police Officer of the Year Award. After I became the chairman of the awards committee, why the police officers, after they bought the award into the Pomfret Club to present for the president of our club to present to the officer, I always got a copy of the invoice. So I ended up going out to Gary's office to drop off a copy of that invoice. And the first time I went out there, I realized that he isn't in till 2 o'clock in the afternoon. So I had to drive back home and then come back out again. So I did remember that though, because of the other times that I would have to go out there for various things. Why, sometimes it was for scholarship checks, and so forth like that. But I always remembered that, not to get to his office before 2 o'clock in the afternoon. So, so I know that there are some others, Skip, you had mentioned to me that you would like to make some
Sure.
remembrances about Gary.
Gary is, we have a lot of older members of our club who know Gary, but for a lot of our younger members, they wouldn't even know Gary if they fell over. Gary is the proverbial behind the scenes guy. I mean, for any of us that have had leadership positions, we always knew we could depend on Gary. We went out to his office. If we went out to his office to either get financial advice or get a check signed, we knew it was going to be very worthwhile, and the check would be leaving shortly. Gary is like infrastructure, and I'll explain that. For those of us, we have electric in our houses and water and plumbing. And if we have a gas line coming in or water line coming into our house, it's stuff we don't think about. We don't even know it's there. But when something goes wrong, it creates a lot of headaches for us, and in some cases, big money problems. Gary was our infrastructure. We knew we weren't going to have any headaches with the club, and we knew we weren't going to have any financial difficulties. So with that, Gary, thank you for all you've done for our club.
Thank you.
Anybody else?
I wrote a couple things down, and actually I couldn't get away without doing the joke, Gary. So I do that. An accountant is having a hard time sleeping, and he goes to see his doctor. Doctor, I just can't get to sleep at night. Well, have you tried counting sheep? Said the doctor. And he responded, well, that's the problem. I make a mistake, and then I have to spend 3 hours trying to figure it out. And I'll give you one other. Well, how do you know if your son's going to be a CPA? When you read him the story of Cinderella and get to the part where the pumpkin turns into a golden carriage, he asks, Daddy, is that ordinary income or capital gain? Well, Gary, I don't know a lot about your personal life, but I do know something, and I came up with what I thought were a bunch of adjectives for you that I thought really said something about who you are as I know you and respect you. One is that you're dedicated. That's a good adjective. And you're gracious, because you've been providing Kiwanis for all these 30 plus years of service. You're generous, another good adjective, because you provided all these services for many years with no compensation. And when I asked you one time about it, we thought we really should be paying you something. You said, well, that's just my contribution from me for Kiwanis, which I think is more than generous. Some other adjectives come to my mind that apply to Gary. Unstintingly polite, courteous, respectful, and patient. They're all good adjectives that I think very much fit you. Most importantly, we can say about Gary is that he's skilled at his craft, and you can count on his honesty, yet another really important quality and adjective. So whether it's the treasurer's report or a tax return or advice or information, we know he's always made it himself available. And for that, we want to thank you. And we want to look forward to another 30 years of your service.
Well, Rosemary.
Thank you, Gary.
Neil, I swear I will get to you. I won't let it go by.
I've just got the microphone, Walt. I'm in charge here. A lot of pressure with this microphone.
Thank you for your 30 plus years of service, Gary. And for the past 2 years, I had the privilege to observe firsthand your dedication. Was never a time that I stopped at your office to give or get a check or just to ask you a question that you did not stop what you were doing and help me. It was always with a friendly smile and a greeting that you did that. You helped me to transition into the treasurer's role by allowing me to keep the records along with you the year before I took the position. If I had a question, you always provided the answer, and you helped me to learn what category each thing went into. When you submitted your monthly reports, you would send them to me, and they were usually often sent very late at night. Which after your busy workday, because you just made time for it. It was so nice. So thank you always for being there to help me, and thank you for the accurate records that you always kept. Thank you very much.
Go ahead, Neil.
I have a non-Kiwanis story to tell about Gary. I had a guy that was doing my income taxes for years, okay? And I kept calling him and leaving a message and calling, leaving a message. Finally, I called somebody else that might have known where this guy was. Well, through his wife to the hairdresser to my accountant's wife, I found out that he had passed away for 2 months, okay? So I called Gary and he helped me out. He wasn't taking new customers, but I got my income tax done that year and he's helped me out ever since. So thanks, Gary.
Yeah, James, okay, go ahead.
So I don't have longevity in the club. I've only known you since 2017. But I always saw you there when we were still meeting at the Pomfret Club. You were the guy there who was writing the checks and keeping everything going. My personal interactions with you, I always thought you had a great sense of humor, which I loosely define as anybody who laughs at my jokes. So, but so there was a financial situation that was just kind of came along in the normal course of business, particularly associated with when the foundation changed the accounting year under which they reported. And it caused a lot of headaches and it caused, some potential issues. There were going to be penalties. There was going to be extra tax owed. And I watched you try every which way to work with the IRS to mitigate that over what it was almost a 2-year period of time, maybe even. And finally came out on top. We owed almost no penalties. I don't think there were any penalties. We owed the tax that we owed, but nothing more. And I just thought that, that perseverance, that dedication, and that unwillingness to give up and to seek the right answer was really an attribute that made me admire you all the more. And so, I was just amazed that after all the stuff that was threatened and went through, that you were able to get that happy outcome. And, I don't know if really the club really knows about all the stuff that you did to make that happen. Certainly Joanne knows because, she's the treasurer for the foundation, but that was an amazing thing that I watched happen over an extended period of time. So thank you for your dedication to the club. I know you're probably still going to be doing our taxes. So we're grateful for that. And we're grateful for everything that you've done in the years that you've done it.
Joanne?
I know, Gary, that you hated when I had to come to your office because it was going to be hour long, and it was. And I know we're talking about figures when we talk to Gary. So I'm going to give you some figures of the super raffle. Between Gary and I, when we would do the super raffle, we had over our 20-some years that we did the super raffle, 20-some years plus. Am I right, Bill?
That you and he worked on.
Yes, that we worked on this. We had 44,000 entities that we had to check with each other before we got what we had to do for the super raffle, finished and complete. But do you know, Gary, that with all of this, you and I counted together $500,000. Thank you, Gary.
So Nick,
Gary, I think the fact that I'm here is the first meeting I've been to says it all about my thoughts about you. Very mild-mannered person, and if anyone ever had any constructive criticism about anybody else in the club or anything going on in the club, if I could share with Gary, and I knew it wouldn't go anywhere else, because that's just the kind of classy person he is, mild-mannered. But even though he's mild-mannered, the things you can say to him one-on-one are unbelievable. If you haven't done it, try it sometime.
Bill,
Well, I've got some video clips to show you here.
let me move the flag back a little bit because I noticed I can't see the monitor as well, and I would imagine Gary can't either, so.
I've got some comments I'll stand on the floor for, but in the meantime, let me just show you a video. As you know, there are thousands of digital photos in my digital library and of a lot of people, but there's not a lot of Gary because as you heard, he's behind the scenes a lot. So let's work with this one to start with.
Together we can, together we will, together we strive this task to fulfill. The children are waiting, this we understand. Give our hearts and minds together we can. Come you leaders, no waiting for tomorrow. You are leaders of this moment, and there's work for you to do. Come, you leaders, the reason you are chosen. People are depending on you. Take the job in your hands. Take the job in your heart. Take the job in your spirit. And it's time to do your part. Together we can. Together we will.
And then I figured after I got done writing my 3 pages of text, double space, large print, you gotta have something humorous. So let me throw the humorous bit. And I'll talk about it in my comments. You know, if you go searching on YouTube for accountants and humor.
My father is 94 years old. And on last Tuesday, I took him to a new doctor for the first time, which I've had to do a lot lately, because he keeps outliving all the old doctors. And when you're 94 and you see a new doctor, before the physical exam, the doctor just asks some questions to see how the patient's doing mentally, because some 94-year-old's starting to slip. But not my father. My father's a retired accountant and he is as sharp as ever. Now I know doctors are smart, but doctors are like science smart. My father's a retired accountant and he's accounting smart, and there's a difference. So the first question the doctor asked my father, he said, if you had $1 and you took away 35 cents, how much would you have left? My father said, if I had $1 and I took away 35 cents, I would still have $1. Because I'm the one who took away the 35 cents. Accountant 1, Doctor 0.
I got the job. Get ready to make the world's most boring job your entire personality, because you won't have time for anything else. Because you'll be working 80-hour weeks. They'll tell you it's only during busy season, but somehow busy season is all the time. And looking like an accountant couldn't be easier. Just throw on some khakis, tuck in a white button down, throw in a Patagonia, and grab your firm-sponsored backpack. And don't forget your corporate standard haircut, because the only part of your wardrobe that should show any personality is your fun sock collection. Sure, AI is probably going to replace your job in a few years, but that won't stop you from telling LinkedIn how humble and grateful you are for this position. So get ready to make partner or die trying. Who schedules a daily 7 a.m. touch point?
And I can do something that never normally happens. I'll actually be on camera. I got a call Sunday night from Chris Pulse. He said, would you have something to say about Gary? I said, let me think about it. Okay. Gary was sponsored to join Easton Kiwanis by Roger Barlow back in the fall of 1993. Gary's birthday is August 28th. Year unknown. His Kiwanis ID number is 000-13630, in case you were wondering. He was in the military, but I don't know which branch.
Army.
I've known him since 1993. He lives in Catasauqua. His office is at the village of Stones Crossing in Palmer Township. And in case you really wanted to know the exact location of his office, it's at 40.670270 degrees latitude and negative 75.271420 degrees longitude. I needed that information during COVID so that Kiwanis could put a location of where our club met, because we didn't have a location. And you had to give them latitude and longitude to get it on their locator. Took me a while to figure that one out. He was asked in 1994, less than a year after he joined the club, to be treasurer, and I was on the committee to review his ability to be our club treasurer. The first and most important question I asked was, what is 2 and 2? Fortunately, Gary answered correctly. What would you like it to be? With that, I knew he was the right CPA. But really, what can you say about someone who's been our club treasurer for over 30 years? But fortunately, Gary quickly realized that being Easton Kiwanis' treasurer was his calling. Invest in our future, one child at a time. Some will say being a treasurer is like trying to fly an airplane while building it. I'm sure Gary never asked to be the Easton Kiwanis treasurer, but he did it anyway. One definition of a treasurer: someone who solves problems you never knew existed in ways that will blow your mind. Gary once told me why the IRS called it the Form 1040. For every $50 you earn, you get $10 and they take $40. Another definition of a good tax accountant: someone who has a loophole named after him. And remember this: a fine is a tax for doing wrong. A tax is a fine for doing well. They say that 2 things in life are unavoidable: death and taxes. At least death only happens once. When preparing my comments and video, I was surprised to learn there are a few humorous video clips on YouTube about accountants. I was able to come up with 2 very short ones. I guess that kind of sets the tone for Gary and his volunteer job as treasurer of Easton Kiwanis. He was there, but many times behind the scenes, and many people did not know all he has done. BC means before COVID, and back in BC, you probably only saw Gary from May through December at meetings, sitting there with the club checkbook, just waiting for the Pomfret Club to give him the total bill to pay, or enjoying his clam bake at the picnic, again with his checkbook, waiting to pay the caterer. And once the new year started, it became tax season, and someone would take the meal bill to Gary's office from the Pomfret Club, drop it off. And what has Gary needed to keep financially straight? A few big ones: a long time ago golf tournament, our rose sale, our super raffle, Kiwanis dues way back when it was billed twice a year to members. More comments about his PAC services behind the scenes. BC really means before COVID, and back in BC, looks like I double typed this in here. So, okay. All of a sudden, I say to myself, that's the replete of what's at the top of the page. Gary, it was fun
doing the research and the homework and looking things up, it's not easy to find things on you. Good. Because it's behind the scenes, my friend. Thank you.
So Gary, you know, there's a lot of professions that get, that are the brunt of a lot of jokes. You're not the worst. Because they always say that an actuary is somebody who doesn't have the personality to be an accountant. So, and I was just wondering, Chris, the $135,000, is that imputed income? How are we gonna work that with Gary? Is that a imputed income? Give it 1040 for $135,000.
Let's focus on the 7 months.
All right. All right, just a couple of thoughts here, Gary. Today we gathered not only for lunch and fellowship, but also to recognize and thank someone who has quietly and faithfully kept this club on solid ground since September 23rd, 1993, 32 years. That someone is our long-term treasurer, Gary. For more than 3 decades, Gary has been the steward of our finances, balancing budgets, paying bills, tracking every check, and reminding us that the dues are due. Through it all, Gary has led with precision, professionalism, and a generous spirit. Now, being a CPA comes with a certain reputation. Found that out here this afternoon. Now, let's be honest, Gary has lived up to all the best parts of that reputation. In preparing for today, Gary, I came across a couple of fun facts, just as Ken and Bill did, and quirks about being a CPA. Can't resist sharing this with you. You know, you're talking to a CPA when they tell you they had a wild weekend, and that meant reorganizing their filing cabinet. But that doesn't apply to Gary, for those of you who have been to his office. I don't know when the last reorganization took place in there, but I worry that Gary may not show up sometime, and he's in there, but there's nothing to see. CPAs are the only people who get excited about a new version of Excel. If you ever lose a receipt, the CPA will find it, whether you want to find it or not. The phrase close enough doesn't exist in a CPA's vocabulary. Rosemary, that's in your vocabulary too. Like Rosemary says, there's no gray areas with me, right? CPAs do not suffer from insomnia. They lie awake at night wondering where the 27-cent discrepancy came from. Difference between an introverted CPA and an extroverted one. Anybody know what that is? The extroverted CPA looks at your shoes when they talk to them. You gotta think about that. And of course, April 16th, the day after tax season, is affectionately known as CPA Liberation Day, when they finally get more than 4 hours of sleep and remember what fresh air smells like. Gary, while you have quietly worked in the background, your contributions have been front and center and have contributed to the success of this club in immeasurable ways. You've been dependable, meticulous, patient, and always steady. No matter what was thrown your way, you had a way of handling it. Whether it was preparing reports, tracking donations, or explaining for the 10th time why we can't just round up, you've done it all with care and commitment. On behalf of the entire Lions Club of Easton, thank you. You've made an immeasurable impact on this club, and we're so grateful for the years of service, your guidance, and most of all, your friendship. Enjoy your well-earned break from the books, but don't be surprised if you get an email saying, Gary, do you know what happened with the file from 2012? A heartfelt thank you, Gary, for all the work, time, and dedication you put into your role as treasurer of the legendary Kiwanis Club of Easton. You're a great CPA, but you're an even better person. Thank you.
How about Gary? Has he got anything to say to advocate? I had a 2-hour speech written, but I've been able to cut it down to 5 minutes. Oh, I have enough video time for 2 hours. Well, 5 minutes will be enough. Back in 94, when Jim Collins, who was the treasurer at the time, was having health problems and wasn't able to continue as treasurer, Don Mengel, who was the president at the time, asked me if I'd be willing to take over the treasurer's job, and I said okay, but I need because that was in April, and I couldn't quite do it right then because of tax season. So I said okay, but after tax season. So he said, well, don't worry, it's not a permanent job. He was right 30 years later. So Rosemary, you only got 29 more years to go. But I'd like to personally thank the people that helped me make the job easier. And that's basically the secretaries. And Bill Walters was mainly the one, he took over a lot of the things that I did before. And he took them over and made my job easier, so I really appreciate it, and thanks, Bill. And also Rosemary did the same. She took over a lot of stuff that I did and made my job easier for the little while that I was still treasurer, so. I'd like to say, well, I forgot what I was gonna say. You know, when you get older, you lose three things. The first one's your memory, and the other two, I can't remember what the hell it was. So basically, I'd like to thank, and I deeply appreciate the recognition, and I really thank the club. And I was glad to be a member of Kiwanis that whole time. It was a good experience. And I was well aware of the effort it was going to take, so I didn't shy away from it. So I'm glad I did it, and I'm hopefully good success to Rosemary. And if she needs help, I'll be more than willing to help. So, and that's basically all I got to say.
Gary, it's so good to see you here amongst everybody, you know, it's, we talk about you all the time, good and bad.
Well, hopefully more good than bad,
It's
because
nice.
some days you're the dog and some days you're the fire hydrant. So.
Well, certainly good to have you today and so it's a wonderful opportunity to tell you how we feel and have great appreciation for your many years of service.
Okay, thank you.